Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all had a good week. So today's case is a case that most of us can probably relate to because at the center of this case is a Reddit post. Now, raise your hand if you've ever been on Reddit. Keep your hand raised if you've ever been on Reddit and you've come across a post of someone asking for relationship advice where the title will be, my boyfriend's cheated on me, my girlfriend's cheated on me, my husband's doing this, my wife's doing that. You know those kinds of Reddit posts. Raise your hand if you've ever come across one. I have. I've actually come across many. I don't even go looking for them. You just tend to stumble across them. And that's what I mean when I say that today's case is very relatable, because that is what happened in today's case. There was a man called Jason that wanted relationship advice from the internet. So he turned to Reddit. He created a post in the relationship advice subreddit, which is obviously where people go to give and ask for relationship advice. And the title of Jason's post was, I, 30-year-old male, am having a hard time coping with my wife, 29-year-old female, having cheated on me. And the post went viral. It went absolutely crazy. It got such a huge reaction from the community on Reddit. And the subject of the Reddit post was Jason's wife, Brandy Worley. And in the aftermath of this Reddit post, Jason decided to take advice from the internet. And one thing led to another, and then everything ended in the worst way imaginable. Truly no one could have seen this coming, what happens in this case. So I'm never going to look at Reddit the same ever again after this, and especially the posts about relationships and asking for advice. So that's what we are going to be getting into today. So let's jump in. So I just want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, and that is June's Journey. June's Journey is a hidden object murder mystery game where you play as Detective June Parker, and each new level takes you through a thrilling mystery where you have to find as many hidden objects as you can to help you solve the murder. Now, you guys know how much of a huge fan of June's Journey I am. It's one of my favorite games. I absolutely love to sit down and play it. It's just so relaxing. And I also have a very exciting update for all of you June's Journey fans out there, and I know there are so many of you, because June's Journey are just about to release their very first physical interactive detective's diary. June's Journey are releasing this hardcover interactive diary, which features engaging puzzles and brain teasers, word searches and cryptograms, coloring activities. But not just that, this diary contains your favorite characters from June's Journey, and they are brought to life in gorgeous, stunning artwork. Like, look at this. Oh my god, this diary is so good. I am so looking forward to going through this. And there is an engaging storyline running through this diary, of course, so you can follow along with June's adventure. But my absolute favorite part of this diary is that there are actual June's Journey hidden object scenes in the diary, just like the ones from the game, printed out on the pages. And it's just so amazing that it's being brought to real life. I literally just want to reach out and tap the pages like I do in the game. And this diary is available for pre-order worldwide right now, but there is only a limited amount available. Every diary comes with a QR code for you to unlock a unique in-game decoration that is exclusive to diary owners. And it will be released on the 21st of November. And I just think this diary is incredible. If you are a June's Journey fan, this is definitely for you. You are going to love this. But this is also the perfect gift for the holidays if you have anyone in your life that is obsessed with June's Journey. And you can pre-order the diary right now by using the link in my description box. And I have another thing. June's Journey are running a giveaway. So one of you watching right now can win this diary. I know, it's all very exciting. And if you wanted to enter the giveaway, full details and info and everything will be listed in the description box down below. And if you don't play June's Journey, you're missing out. Truly, you are. June's Journey is free to download and is available on Android, iOS, and on PC through Facebook Games. And you can download June's Journey by using the link in my description box, and using that link really does help out this channel. So thank you again to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video. I am so excited about this diary, and I'm sure so many of you are as well. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. But I do just want to thank all of you guys watching right now, because truly, without all of you guys, I wouldn't get opportunities like this. And now let's jump into today's case. Brandy Worley was born on the 10th of November 1986, making her a Scorpio, and she grew up in Crawfordsville, Indiana, where she lived with her parents and her younger sister. Unfortunately, not much is known about Brandy's childhood. It is thought that she did well in school. She was a polite and happy child, and she had a lot of friends, and that is pretty much all I know. We don't really know anything about her parents either. However, I am assuming, and this is my opinion, but I am assuming that her parents are probably not the nicest people. And I am assuming that from what they do in this case later on, because oh my god, my blood boils at Brandy's parents and what they do later on in the case. And I know all of you are going to get so frustrated with Brandy's parents as well, so I don't think it's too far-fetched of me to assume that maybe they're not the nicest people and maybe the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But following high school, Brandy went on to study at Indiana State University, where she got a degree in elementary education before then getting a job as a teacher. And once she was settled in her career, in 2009, when Brandy was 23 years old, this is when she went on to marry her high school sweetheart, 23-year-old Jason Worley. And Brandy and Jason, they were just totally in love. Like, this is truly like high school sweethearts. They had been dating since the age of 15. They had been infatuated with each other ever since they started dating, and they just loved each other more and more as the years go by. So when they are 23, after 8 years of being together, they finally tied the knot. And following the marriage, the couple relocated to a town called Darlington, which is just outside of Indianapolis. And that is where the rest of today's case takes place. So once the family were settled, they soon go on to have 2 children. The couple went on to have a son who they called Tyler. And then 4 years later, they went on to have a daughter who they called Charlie. And as the years were rolling by, the family were just perfect. They were just like picture perfect, holiday movie kind of perfect family. Brandy left her career and she was now a stay-at-home mom, and Jason was a software engineer and he had a very good job. He had a very good wage and he worked extremely hard to provide a very good life for his family. The family became really well known in the neighborhood. They were also really liked by everyone in the neighborhood. Brandy would be seen walking with her 2 children in the neighborhood. The children have been described as just such happy, polite children. They were just so friendly to everybody, and people have described the children as just absolutely wonderful. The Worley family would have a lot of parties and a lot of bonfires over the years. It just kind of became that house that the neighbors did kind of gather at. They became really friendly with a lot of their neighbors. A little bit too friendly at times, but we'll get back to that in a moment. The 2 young children, Tyler and Charlie, they were also just living their best lives. They were so happy. They had so many friends. Charlie was now 3 years old, and she was at that age where she was developing a very huge personality. She has been described as a big ball of attitude, and she just loved getting dressed up. She loved doing her hair. She loved bows in her hair. She actually would never leave the house without her bows in her hair. And she had just entered into preschool, and she was taking dance classes. She was attending Bible school and basketball camps, and she just wanted to get stuck in with everything. She always just wanted to be involved in everything. And then Tyler is nearly 7 years old, and he has just been described as just like such a friendly, most polite child you would ever come across. Just always had a smile on his face. And it has been said that Tyler could go into a room with 20 strangers and he would come out with 20 new friends. And he was just always so passionate and so excited about every single thing that he did in his life. He loved going to Bible school every single summer. He really got stuck into events. He threw himself into everything. He lived life to the full. And when he grew up, he wanted to be a software engineer, just like his dad. And one thing that I haven't mentioned about Tyler is that he was born 10 weeks premature. So it was kind of a scary time for Brandy and Jason, but Tyler pulled through. There was no lasting complications. But But from that moment, because it was so scary for Jason and Brandy, they always said that their children came first. The children were the most important thing to them. The children would come before them and their marriage. And hearing that just makes me so angry. It really does, because that is clearly not true for one of the people in this relationship. So now we get to 2015, and the Worley family from the outside seem perfect. They seem like they have everything. Brandy and Jason seem like they have a really good, tight relationship. They seem like they have the perfect children. It seemed like absolutely nothing could go wrong for them. However, I wouldn't be talking about this case if it was a perfect family, unfortunately, because now is where everything starts to fall apart. So remember that Jason is a software engineer and Brandy is a stay-at-home mom. Well, at this point in time, Jason was working a lot of hours. He had recently taken on a new project at work and he had a lot of new responsibilities, and he was working 60 plus hours a week. And because he had this new project, he was getting more and more stressed. He had a lot of new responsibilities, and because he was getting more stressed, he was kind of bringing that home. He definitely had a short fuse with Brandy. He wasn't always the nicest person to be around. He was spending less and less time with the children, which is not great, is it? And this is when Brandy said that she started to become very lonely in the relationship. And I think Jason noticed this. And I think he noticed that his job, this new project that he had, it was putting a strain on their relationship. And one day in May of 2015, Jason started noticing some very suspicious behavior occurring with his wife, Brandy. And the first of that was the fact that Brandy had added a password to her phone. And she never had a password on her phone. She didn't care about security. Like, she didn't care if anyone picked up her phone and just looked through it, which, by the way, everyone should care about their security. Like, everyone should have a password on their phone. But Brandy, she didn't care about that, and she never, ever, ever had a password on her phone until now. And Jason was like, what has changed? So he confronted Brandy about the fact that she now had a password on her phone. So Brandy, when she's confronted, she starts acting shifty. And she's like, I'm planning a surprise for you for Father's Day from the kids, and I don't want to ruin the surprise. I don't want you to open my phone and come across the surprise, which is plausible, but Jason thought it was a bit weird. Brandy had never done anything like this before, but he chose to believe her and he moved on. However, for the next few days, Brandy is still acting suspicious. She's definitely acting a little bit weird with her phone. She's definitely keeping it closer to her, which again, very strange behavior. She'd never really done this before. And then a week later, Brandy approaches Jason and says, I just feel really guilty about this secret. I can't keep it from you any longer. Do you want to know what your present is? Well, I've been planning to build you a home office. I think it was like a home office that was going to go in like the garden, like the backyard, like a standalone little like shed thing. So she was like, I'm planning to build you this like at-home office, and it is being built by our neighbor. Now, there was a few things about this that Jason found suspicious. The first being that Brandy felt guilty about keeping this secret, because that was something about Brandy, is that she never felt guilty about anything. She actually always stressed that there was no point in feeling guilty about things. There was no point in having regrets in life. Brandy had never felt guilty about a single thing in her life. Suspicion number 2, why was she building him an office? He didn't need one. He didn't ask for one. I don't even know if he would use one. Again though, is that really that suspicious? I mean, he is working a lot of hours. However, suspicion number 3, the fact that the neighbor was building this at-home office. Now, the neighbor actually was a contractor. So the neighbor had the skills to build this office, but that is not what was suspicious. Oh, no, no, no. Well, the neighbor was a 51-year-old man that lived next door, and he lived with his girlfriend and his young son. However, recently, Brandy and the neighbor had been getting quite close. If you remember, I said that Brandy and Jason, they would quite often throw parties, bonfires. They would quite often have neighbors round to their house. And when that happened, Jason had started to notice that Brandy and this particular neighbor, they were chatting a little bit more than normal. They were laughing at one another's jokes. Jason could tell that there was definitely a bond there between them. And I don't know the name of this neighbor, which is why I'm just saying neighbor. So that might get a little bit confusing, but I'm sorry, I don't know their name. So Jason is annoyed that Brandy has arranged a surprise for him, like building this at-home office, and she's planning it with the neighbor, who she's all of a sudden gotten very close to, which means that they will be spending a lot more time together. But again, Jason trusted his wife, and he just put it to the side. But Brandy is still acting suspicious. There is still little weird things that Jason is picking up on. Jason would often see Brandy with her phone smiling to herself, and she was doing this a lot more often than she used to, and it wasn't because she was watching some cute animal video on social media. And Jason is becoming incredibly agitated. He can't shake the feeling that something is going on. So one day when Brandy went into the bathroom, she placed her phone down on the side and went into the bathroom, and Jason was able to get her phone before it automatically locked. And now he's obviously got access to the phone, and he's like, right, okay, I'm going to find out what is happening. And he immediately goes to the text messages, and he opens up the conversation that Brandy is having with the neighbor. And there is only one message there. Brandy has only sent one message to the neighbor. And this message reads, quote, "I am all covered in frosting. You want to lick it off?" I'm not kidding. That is exactly, word for word, what the message said. I can't even imagine what Jason would have been thinking reading that. He was thinking, what the actual hell? And he was also wondering, why is there just one message? Like, where are all the rest of the messages? Like, this doesn't make sense. However, he realizes that Brandy has installed software on her phone that automatically deletes messages to the neighbor after a certain amount of time. So that explains why there is only one message. And that is just incredibly suspicious. I mean, if Brandy had nothing to hide with this neighbor, why is she installing software that deletes her messages? But Jason decides to trust his wife. Brandy has a pretty crude, dirty mind. She has a pretty dirty sense of humor. So Jason just put it down to that. I think that is what he was hoping it was. He gave her the benefit of the doubt, and he tried to move on. But then the weeks go by, and the neighbor is still coming over to the house a lot. He's coming over pretty much every single day to work on Jason's office. And even though Jason has tried to move on from that message that he found on his wife's phone, he can't. He has that gut feeling. He can't help but wonder what is going on with Brandy and the neighbor whilst they're at home alone all of the time. So because he can't shake this feeling, he decided to log into their shared Google account so that he could track Brandy's Google Maps history, find out exactly where she was possibly going. But when he logged into the account, he realized that there was large gaps in the history, and that is because Brandy was turning off her GPS. There would be large amounts of the day where there would be nothing. Her GPS would be turned off, and then all of a sudden it would turn back on. And Jason thought that it was very clear that she was turning off her GPS so he couldn't see where she was. Again, what has she got to hide? And at this point, it is now July. 2 whole months since the whole, oh, I'm building you a secret office. I feel so guilty about it. And Father's Day is in June. So this present is kind of late. And Jason, he's going out of his mind. For 2 months, he's had this feeling, this gut feeling that something is going on with his wife and the neighbor. But he has no proof. He's just so paranoid. So he decides that he wants to set up tracking software on his wife's phone. So Jason approaches Brandy and says that he needs to install antivirus software on her phone. Brandy didn't find this suspicious and handed her phone over unlocked. And remember that her messages delete after a certain amount of time, so she probably made sure that those messages were all gone as well. So she handed over her phone. She had nothing to worry about. However, Jason wasn't only installing antivirus software on her phone. He also downloaded an app that allowed him to see where Brandy's phone was at all times. And he also installed an app that sent him a copy of every single one of Brandy's text messages to him before she could delete them. So after he has installed these two apps, he hands the phone back to Brandy. It was basically like he had set up his own little spy operation. So then we get to the next day, and this is where everything begins to unravel. Because on this day, Jason went to work, as he always did, but he could now see everything that Brandy was doing. So whilst Jason is at work, Jason's mom asks him if she can spend some time with her grandchildren because it was the school holidays. So Brandy takes the children over to Jason's mom's house for the day. So Brandy now has the day to herself. She is now completely on her own. And now that Brandy is alone, Jason can see that Brandy spends the whole day texting the neighbor and trying to meet up with him. I don't normally do this, but this case is going to get so confusing if I don't, but I'm going to give the neighbor a name because obviously we don't know his name, and I thought that I was going to be able to just deliver this case saying the neighbor, the neighbor, the neighbor, but now that I'm actually saying the case out loud, it's going to get confusing as well because the neighbor's girlfriend comes into it. So I am going to give the neighbor a name. So the neighbor's name is Bob. That is not his real name. I just want to stress that. That is just the name that I am giving him for this case. So it makes it easier to follow along. So now the neighbor is Bob. So Brandy is spending the whole day texting Bob trying to meet up with him. And Jason is at work and he is watching all of this unfold. And he is thinking, aha, guilty, I've got you. However, it turns out that Brandy was unsuccessful trying to meet up with Bob because Bob was apparently busy on another job site. Now, he may be busy on a job site because he is a contractor, but when I first read that in my research, I'm not gonna lie, I just took job site to mean something else, if you know what I mean. However, the story of this particular day does not end there. Oh no, because Jason returns home from work. Jason and Brandy pick the kids up from Jason's mom's house, and Brandy informs Jason that she has arranged for Jason, Brandy, the children, to go out for dinner with Bob, his girlfriend, and their son. And Jason is like, what? What? Obviously, he cannot say anything because Brandy doesn't know that Jason knows what is going on. But Jason is thinking, oh my God, I have to go out for a meal with the man that my wife is possibly having an affair with. Jason is thinking, how the hell is he supposed to deal with this? But he goes along with it. So the two families go out for dinner and Brandy spends the whole dinner laughing and joking with Bob's girlfriend. And then after the dinner has finished, Bob's girlfriend turns to Brandy and says, hey, I fancy going to see the new Magic Mike XXL. That had just been released in the cinemas, by the way, at the time of this case. So Bob's girlfriend says to Brandy, do you want to come to the cinema with me? And Brandy says yes, which then left Jason and Bob together alone. You really cannot make this stuff up. Oh my God. So Brandy and Bob's girlfriend, they go off to the cinema. And then Jason and Bob and the children, because don't forget there's children all wrapped up in this. Jason, Bob and the children go back to Jason's home. The kids hang out, the kids play video games, and this leaves Jason and Bob together alone, sat in the living room. Can you even imagine what it would have been like for Jason to sit in that living room with Bob? They were just sat in the living room, possibly on opposite couches or opposite sides of the room. And it was just awkward. It was just silent because what the hell is Jason supposed to say to Bob? So anyway, they both end up getting their phones out. And what happens next? Oh my God. This is when things really start to get crazy. Because Jason and Bob, they're sat in the living room. They're both on their phones. And this is when Brandy starts to text Bob. Yeah, she's supposed to be in the cinema. She's supposed to be watching Magic Mike, but she is texting Bob. And Jason, as we know, has installed software so he can see this. So Brandy starts to text Bob all of the sex acts that she wants to perform on him. And Jason is seeing this whole thing. Jason is watching these messages come in, and Bob replies with the sex acts that he wants to perform on Brandy. And Jason is sat right there. How can you be sat across from the husband of the woman that you're having an affair with whilst texting her what sex acts you want to perform on her? How can anyone do that? And Jason, I truly don't know how he never said anything, because he just sat there. And obviously Brandy and Bob, they have no idea that Jason is able to read their messages. And then this next thing, wow. I don't know how Jason kept it together after this. So it wasn't long until Brandy messaged Bob and told him to check his Snapchat. And when Bob opened his Snapchat, Brandy had sent either a photo or a video, I don't know, but she sent an image or a video of herself fingering herself in a bathroom stall. That actually happened. Yeah. But this Snapchat also gets sent to Jason. So Jason also sees this Snapchat. I don't know how Jason was able to stay sitting on that couch so calm. And the messages just continue. Both of them sexting one another, and they're both trying to arrange a time for them to meet up to have sex. And they decide that the best time for them to meet up and have sex was going to be Monday morning after Jason had left for work. And they were also going to have sex in Jason and Brandy's bed. Again, I just cannot get over the fact that Jason is reading all of this. But then Brandy messages Bob saying, I love you. To which Bob responds that he also loves Brandy. And then Bob messages Brandy saying, you're my girl. To which Brandy says, always have been. And then Bob responds, always will be. This doesn't seem like some sort of little fling, does it? Like, no, they're saying that they love one another. This affair must have been happening for at least a decent amount of time. And Jason is going out of his mind reading these messages. He has said that it took all of the will in his body not to leap off of the couch and knock Bob out right there and then. Jason didn't know what to do. His wife has just said that she loves another person. His wife is arranging to have sex in their bed with another person. And all of these thoughts are running through Jason's mind. He even contemplated not saying anything to Brandy and catching Brandy and Bob having sex together on the Monday morning. I don't know how anyone is supposed to process all of that information. And he also knows that Brandy is going to be home anytime now. And a short time later, Brandy arrives home with Bob's girlfriend. And Jason decides that he has to say something. He can't just keep this in. How is he supposed to keep this in? So when Brandy returns home, Jason very calmly asks Brandy and Bob's girlfriend to sit in the living room on the couch. Jason then goes upstairs and tells all of the children to stay in his son Tyler's room and keep the door shut. And knowing children, those children were probably listening. So then Jason calmly walks back down the stairs, goes into the living room. And again, I can't even imagine this. You've got Bob sat on the couch, you've got Brandy sat on the couch, and also Bob's girlfriend, and Jason is stood in front of them. And Jason just very calmly says, so you two are in love, are you? And at this point, chaos descends. Brandy knows that they have been caught, and Brandy's face just drops. She looks gobsmacked. She doesn't know how he knows, because obviously she doesn't know about the software that he has installed on her phone. Bob's girlfriend immediately turns to Bob and just starts repeatedly hitting him. Like literally that was her first reaction, which tells me she might be used to this. So Bob's girlfriend is literally pounding him on the couch, and Brandy goes into full denial. She's going to deny everything. She's not going to own up to anything, because as far as she's concerned, Jason doesn't have any proof. So she says, I don't know what you're talking about. You've got this all wrong. But Jason, he's still so calm. I don't know how he was able to stay so calm. He just says to Brandy, so you two haven't been texting one another then? And Brandy says, no, absolutely not. I don't know what you're talking about. So then Jason pulls out his phone and shows her the messages that she has sent between her and Bob. So then Brandy starts backtracking. She's like, oh, yes, I did send those texts. Yes, we have been texting. It has never ever gone this far before. This was just a one-time thing. But Jason, he is focused. He has tunnel vision. So he doesn't waver. And he says to Brandy, have you ever sent indecent images or videos of yourself to Bob. And Brandy again, denial. No, of course I haven't. So then Jason pulls out his phone and he shows Brandy the Snapchat that she sent to Bob only about an hour before. Brandy's face again drops. She is shocked. I cannot even imagine what it would have been like in that room. The tension, the atmosphere, you would have been able to cut it with a knife. Also, what was Bob's girlfriend thinking? Like, seriously, I think she stopped hitting Bob at this moment. Brandy again tries to backtrack and says that, yes, she did send the image, the Snapchat, to Bob, but it was the first time. She'd never done it before and she would never do it again. But Jason again doesn't waver and he goes in for the big question and he asks Brandy if her and Bob have been having sex. Again, Brandy instantly denies it. She's like, nope. So then Jason confronts her about the fact that Brandy and Bob were trying to arrange to have sex on that Monday morning after he had gone to work. And Brandy just said, oh, it was just texting. Like, we were just messing around. We wouldn't have actually gotten that far. We weren't actually going to have sex. Bob, by the way, is silent this whole time. He doesn't say a single word. Like, he neither confirms nor denies anything, which I think says a lot. Because if it wasn't true, wouldn't you be denying it? You would, wouldn't you? But anyway, Brandy is denying that they have been having sex. And unfortunately, Jason doesn't actually have any proof that they have been having sex. And this is when Jason thought that maybe he should have waited until Monday to catch them in the act, because then he would have evidence. But I think it's quite clear that they were. And everything in that living room goes silent. No one had any idea what to say. So then Jason finally breaks the silence and he says that he is going to leave Brandy. However, Brandy is not going to let that happen. At least she's not going to let it happen, not on her terms. So this is when Brandy says to Jason that if he does leave her, she will make sure that their kids never see him again. And then she follows this up with saying that if Jason ever tries to fight for custody for their children, she will use the fact that he tried to commit suicide in high school against him as a reason that he is not mentally stable enough to look after the children alone. Oh my God, my blood was boiling. Oh my God, this woman. Oh my God, so angry. I'm so angry. Now, I don't know the circumstances around Jason and his mental health and the issues and the struggles that he was possibly having in high school, but oh my God, to use that against somebody. And I just think the audacity, oh my God, she is the one having an affair. How is she like doing this? How is she turning it around on Jason? And then Brandy goes on to say that the whole affair, everything was Jason's fault anyway. He was the one that was too busy at work. He was the one neglecting her, the family, and she was lonely and she just wanted someone to talk to. And I think what's just truly unbelievable is that Bob and his girlfriend are still sat there on the couch. They are just watching this argument between Jason and Brandy. And what is unbelievable is that Bob's girlfriend starts to defend Brandy. Do you not know what has just been revealed? It has just been revealed that your boyfriend is having an affair with the woman that you possibly classed as a friend, as a close neighbor, the woman that you've just been to the cinema with, and now you're defending her? That kind of maybe tells me that she's used to this, that it's almost been normalized to her for Bob to cheat. But Bob's girlfriend says, I think we all just need to calm down. Everyone should just stay with their partners. No one needs to break up. The affair wasn't even that serious. I mean, they weren't having sex, so it wasn't that bad. I just can't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I read that. It's like, okay, if they weren't having sex, what they are doing is still bad. They are still breaking the trust of their partners. They are going behind their partners' backs. They are also arranging to have sex. They are also sending indecent images of themselves to one another. That is an affair. But following this statement from Bob's girlfriend, Bob and his girlfriend, they actually leave. And Jason and Brandy spend the rest of the evening arguing and nothing gets resolved, and Jason ends up sleeping on the couch. So then the next day, Jason has to decide, like, what is he going to do? So Jason decides that he wants to leave Brandy temporarily whilst they sort everything out. And Brandy and Jason agree that Jason was going to stay in the house and Brandy was going to take the kids and stay with her mom for a short time, just while they sort everything out. But was it going to be that simple? No, of course not, because we are talking about Brandy here and we've already seen that she is very manipulative. Because it now gets to Monday morning, the infamous morning where Brandy and Bob were supposed to meet up and have sex. And this is where it really does become apparent how manipulative Brandy truly is. Because on the Monday morning, she texts Jason saying that she has tried to explain to the kids the situation, but the children are upset. And Jason needs to come home and explain to the children what is going on. So Jason gets home and he finds his son Tyler in tears. Tyler is really upset that he is having to leave his home. And Tyler, he's 7 years old at this point. He doesn't really understand, but he does kind of understand, but he also is only 7, so he doesn't understand. And when Jason returns home, he learns what Brandy has told the children. So Brandy has told the children that Jason is angry, that Daddy is angry with Mommy, and Mommy must leave the home. So Tyler, only being 7 years old, interpreted that as, okay, so if Daddy is angry with Mommy and Mommy has to leave, but if I'm also having to leave the house with Mommy, that must mean that Daddy is also angry with me. Ugh, which is just so heartbreaking. So that is why Tyler was upset, because he wanted to stay with his dad. And then Charlie, she's only 3. She actually doesn't know what is going on, but she can still sense emotions. And she was really upset as well because her brother was upset. It's just really telling, isn't it, what kind of person Brandy is. She is trying to weaponize the children against their dad. And in the end, Jason caved. He didn't want to see his children upset. In that moment, he saw what Brandy was, like who she truly was down to her core. And he knew that she was going to drag the kids through hell and back. And Jason didn't want to do that to the children. Because if you remember, I told you that both Jason and Brandy agreed that the children were going to come first, that they were the most important thing in their relationship. The children came before their marriage, came before everything. So Jason ends up asking Brandy to stay, which is just so messed up. But Brandy was not going to just agree to come back. She actually wanted Jason to beg for her to come back, which is what Jason did. He begged Brandy to come back. But it gets worse. It gets so much worse. Brandy said that she would stay on one condition, that Jason apologize to the neighbor Bob. That's correct. Jason, who is completely innocent in this whole situation, has to apologize to the man sleeping with his wife. And Brandy said that she wanted Jason to apologize to Bob because that whole scene that he had created the other night was so embarrassing. But also, they were neighbors. They were going to see each other. Jason needed to clear the air. And again, I'm just so angry. I just cannot believe that this actually happened. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to stay together, okay. If you want to clear the air, again, okay. But surely it should be Brandy and Bob apologizing to Jason and then also Bob's girlfriend. How has this been turned around? But Jason, he is now wise to what Brandy is like. So Jason agrees to apologize to Bob. And I just feel so sorry for Jason, I really do. Because he thinks that what he is doing is the right thing for the children, when staying together is not always what is best for the children. But Jason thinks that he is putting the children first. He is doing what he thinks is right for the children, which is more than what Brandy is doing. And he is just being completely walked over, taken advantage of, manipulated. And I just can't believe that he was made to go and apologize to Bob. I don't know how that went, the apology, but wow. I just don't have any words. So time goes by and Jason has obviously stayed for the children. And Jason and Brandy never speak about the affair again. They kind of just put it behind them and almost pretend like it didn't happen. At least Brandy did. But Jason, he can't stop thinking about it. That is all that he is thinking about. It is consuming his mind. And I can't believe this, but Brandy and Jason, they even start hanging out with Bob and his girlfriend again. Just like they did before the affair came out. Bob and his girlfriend would go over to Brandy and Jason's house for barbecues, for parties, for any kind of neighborhood gathering. And Jason just kept his mouth shut. And a whole year passes. And Brandy, for that that whole year has just gotten on with her life. Jason has a lot of guilt and he blames himself for the whole thing, and he thinks about different ways on how he can make Brandy happy again, how he can make her happy so she doesn't cheat on him again. So it is now Father's Day 2016, a whole year after the original incident. And on Father's Day, Jason catches Brandy sending another indecent image of herself to Bob. On Father's Day, of all days. But he confronts Brandy about this, and Brandy just says that it was an accident, that she had meant to send the photo to him, not Bob. Whoopsie, it was just an accident. It's very clear to me that the affair has probably just been carrying on, like for that whole year. But when Brandy said that it was just an accident, Jason didn't believe her. But again, Jason, he just kind of accepts it and he just moves on because he knows that Brandy is going to kick up a fuss. She's going to take the kids off him. So more months go by and Jason's whole life, it just completely falls apart now. So his job performance really suffers. He's barely sleeping. He wanted a divorce. He didn't want to be with Brandy anymore, but he just didn't know how he was going to go about it. Jason also had kept the whole affair and everything to himself. He never spoke to any of his family or friends about it because one, he was embarrassed, and two, he didn't want people to dislike Brandy. So he was just dealing with all of this himself and he was going out of his mind. And then we get to October of 2016. After feeling like he had run out of options, this is when a pretty significant development occurs in the case, and that is because Jason turns to Reddit. And I can understand why he turned to Reddit. He had no one else to talk to. So Reddit, if you are not aware what Reddit is, which I'm sure most of you are, Reddit is kind of like social media. It is. It's not like maybe social media in terms of like Instagram, but it is a social media that is filled with a ton of different communities. You can go on Reddit and get information or advice on pretty much anything. And this is when Jason headed over to Reddit. He created an anonymous account under the name Jason in Hell, and he joined the relationship advice subreddit. Hence the name of the subreddit, gives relationship advice. And this is relationships of all kinds. So romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with co-workers, families. So on the 28th of October 2016, this is when Jason went onto the relationship advice subreddit under his username Jason in Hell. And he created a post with the title, "I'm 30M, having a hard time coping with my wife, 29F, having cheated on me with our neighbor, 51M." And then this summary of the post, because the whole Reddit post that Jason posted was huge. So the summary of that post is as follows. Quote, "I caught my wife cheating on me over a year ago. I stayed with her for the sake of our children, but I haven't been able to get it off my mind since. It has been 476 days since I confronted her about it. How do I know? Because every time I catch myself thinking about it, I tell myself, it's only been X days. Maybe you won't think about it tomorrow." And then the rest of the Reddit post, which I will leave a link to in the description box, and I highly recommend that you go and read it because, oh my God, my jaw was on the ground when I read this Reddit post. But basically the Reddit post is a more summed up version of everything that I have said so far about when Jason's suspicion started around Father's Day, around that mysterious present, about the software that he installed on Brandy's phone, the messages that he was seeing, the images that he was seeing, about that whole night where he confronted everyone in the living room. And at the end of the Reddit post, Jason basically expressed that he was in a very bad situation and he just didn't know what to do and he wanted advice. And after reading Jason's Reddit post, people were shocked. They were shocked about what Brandy had done. So apparently, and I want to stress this, apparently, according to news sources that have reported on this case, this Reddit post went viral. Now, what does viral even mean anymore? Like, seriously, I feel like every other day something is going viral, and truly I feel like that word has lost its meaning. Did this Reddit post go viral? I just don't know because the original post has been taken down. We can only see a repost of the Reddit post. However, I was able to like go in the archives and see some of the original comments, and I've got some of the comments here, but this was basically the general gist of the replies to the Reddit post. One comment said, quote, "You should seek counsel ASAP. You should have done this months ago. You aren't doing your children any favors staying in a marriage built on lies." And then another comment said, quote, "I cannot believe you stayed with her. I cannot believe you begged her to stay. I cannot believe you apologized to the neighbor." And a lot of the comments did seem to genuinely want to help Jason. However, that is not always the case because it is the internet. And there were some very unhelpful and unnecessary comments on Jason's Reddit post. The toxic masculinity, oh my god, it was rife in those comments. However, a couple of days pass and Jason is reading all of the comments coming in on his post, and he does take on a lot of the advice because sometimes you need someone to tell you what you want to hear. Does that make sense? Like sometimes you don't have the confidence or the belief in yourself to actually go out and do something. You need someone else to believe in you or to give you encouragement. Like sometimes you need that. And I think that is possibly what Jason needed. He needed other people to give him the encouragement to go get a divorce. Because on the 1st of November 2016, Jason makes a second post, which was simply titled, "Update, I'm taking your advice." And in the post, Jason said, quote, "Instead of trying to fix something she doesn't want to fix, I'm going to get myself and my kids out. I meet with an attorney next week. Thank you everyone for helping me see how far I had my head up my ass. Not my arse. Sorry, the British came out in me." And following this update to Reddit, Jason did indeed file for divorce. He met with an attorney, just like he said. He got everything that he needed in order. And on the 15th of November 2016, less than 3 weeks after Jason had made the original Reddit post, this is when Jason presented his wife, Brandy, with a pile of divorce papers. And that is where this story should end. Jason should have been able to get a divorce. He should have been able to have visitation rights to his children, get away from Brandy's bullying and her manipulation. However, that is not what happened. And now we get to the absolutely horrific events of today's case. So the next day, on the 16th of November 2016, the day after Jason had told Brandy that he wanted a divorce, it started off like any other day. It was a normal day. Brandy and Jason got up, they got ready for their day, they got their children ready for school, Jason went to work, Tyler and Charlie, they went to school, and Brandy spent the day with her mother. So even though we don't know how Brandy reacted to the news of the divorce, it seems at this point like Brandy has taken it pretty well. And the day continues to be normal. Later on in the day, 3-year-old Charlie had dance practice, and Jason and Brandy together took her there. They spent the evening watching Charlie dance like any other family. Then afterwards they went home, they had dinner together, they talked about their day as a family. 7-year-old Tyler was then working on a crafts project for school. And then after dinner, because Tyler was working on a crafts project, Brandy made the excuse that she wanted to go to Walmart on her own to get some more crafts for Tyler. But did Brandy go to Walmart for craft supplies? No. She went to pick up something far more sinister because Brandy had something horrific planned. So whilst Brandy went to Walmart, Jason spent the rest of the evening with Tyler and Charlie, helped Tyler with his arts and crafts project. He played games with both Tyler and Charlie, and Jason also got the children ready for bed. About an hour or so later, Brandy returns from her solo trip to Walmart. And what did she buy? She was supposed to be buying craft supplies, but instead she brought home a military-style combat knife. And once Brandy returned home, she went straight into the house and she went straight up to her son Tyler's bedroom and she hid the knife in a cupboard. before she went back downstairs, back to Jason, back to the kids, with Jason and the two children having no idea what Brandy has just done. Brandy and Jason then spent the rest of the evening with the children, acting very civil. Considering the fact that Jason has just said that he wanted a divorce, they are acting very civil. They're acting like very mature adults, that this could be a very amicable divorce. Both adults put the children to bed, and Jason tucked his children in, and he said that he loved them and that he would see them in the morning. After this, Jason and Brandy spent a few hours together before Jason went down to the basement to go to bed, because that is where he was sleeping for now. And then after Jason went to bed, this is when Brandy started to put her awful plan into motion. And I do need to give a very big warning here, because Brandy's plan involves her children. Because after Jason had gone to sleep, Brandy had sat up for a few hours on her own. She was staying awake. She was thinking about what she was about to do. At some point as well, she also took a load of Benadryl, which made her incredibly drowsy. And then in the early hours of the morning, at around 4 a.m, Brandy snuck into her son Tyler's bedroom. She retrieved the combat knife from the cupboard, and then she woke Tyler up from his sleep and said to Tyler, did he want to go for a sleepover in his sister Charlie's bedroom? Now Tyler has just been woken up. It's 4 a.m. He is confused. He's a bit like drowsy, like he just doesn't really know what's going on. But Tyler, he says yes, and he followed his mom Brandy into Charlie's bedroom. And again, I just need to give another very strong warning now, because this is when Brandy launches her attack on her own children. Because once Tyler was inside Charlie's bedroom, Brandy pulled out the combat knife and started repeatedly stabbing her son over and over again. Now, at some point during the attack on Tyler, 3-year-old Charlie woke up and asked her mom what was going on. And Brandy reassured her daughter and just went, nothing, don't worry, go back to sleep. So Charlie went back to sleep. And as soon as Charlie had fallen back to sleep, this is when Brandy continued her attack on her son Tyler. Before then, Brandy made her way over to her daughter Charlie's bed. And this is when Brandy launched her attack on her 3-year-old daughter and just started repeatedly stabbing her daughter over and over again. Brandy had taken the lives of both of her children. She then took both of their bodies and lay them on the floor in Charlie's bedroom next to one another. She covered them in a blanket, and then she turned the knife on herself and stabbed herself in the neck. Brandy would later claim that she was trying to take her own life in this moment. She wanted to take her own life so she could be with her children, but it turns out her attempt on her life was unsuccessful. And after failing to take her own life, Brandy calmly walked downstairs and into the living room and phoned her mom and told her mom everything that she has just done. She called up her mom to tell her mom that she has just killed her 2 children. Now, I can't even imagine what was going through Brandy's mom's mind at that moment. However, we do know that Brandy's mom told Brandy to call 911 straight away, which Brandy did. Yes, Brandy actually did call 911, and oh my God, this phone call is so chilling.
Montgomery County 911, where's your emergency?
I just stabbed myself and I killed my 2 children.
You stabbed yourself and killed your 2 children?
Mm-hmm.
And where are the children at?
In my daughter's room on the floor.
And what caused you to do this today?
My husband wanted a divorce and wanted to take my kid. I won't want him to have my kid.
Okay, and how old are your children?
7 and 3.
Are you armed now with the knife still?
No, it's in my children's room.
Wait, you're tired? Are you where?
Yeah, I took a lot of Benadryl.
Okay, and is there anyone else in the residence besides your children and you and your husband?
I called my mom.
You called your mom? What did she say?
To hang up and call 911. She'd be here in a second.
Brandy says everything in such a calm way. It's actually really scary. It's just so calm. Now, during the 911 call, whilst Brandy was on the phone, Brandy's mom had made her way over to the house because she was concerned about her daughter and about her grandchildren. And the 911 operator actually wants to talk to Brandy's mom because Brandy, even though she is speaking very calmly, she's not quite with it. She is slurring her words a little bit. So the 911 operator wants to speak to Brandy's mom, to someone that is a little bit more coherent. And the 911 operator instructs Brandy's mom to go upstairs, go to the children, see if she can find a pulse. Are they still alive? So which Brandy's mom goes upstairs to find the children. And when she walks into Charlie's bedroom, she sees both of the children on the floor and she lets out the most heart-wrenching scream. And this scream woke up Jason, because Jason, he was asleep in the basement the whole time. He hadn't got a clue what was happening. And at this scream, Jason raced upstairs, and this is when he walked into his daughter's bedroom to see the complete horror scene in front of him. That would be any parent's nightmare, to walk into a bedroom to see your children dead, lying on the floor. Jason rushes back downstairs to confront Brandy to see what the hell has happened, and what Brandy says to Jason makes my blood boil. I cannot believe she said this. Brandy very calmly and chillingly said to Jason, quote, "Now you can't take the kids away from me." Oh my God, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. That is what all of this was about. That is what all of this is about. She has murdered 2 innocent children because she doesn't want her husband to take the kids off of her, which I don't even think Jason was planning on doing that. I think he just wanted shared custody. How has she killed her own children out of spite? And when the emergency services arrive at the house, tragically, Tyler and Charlie are both pronounced dead. It was determined that they had suffered multiple stab wounds from a very frenzied attack. Brandy had shown how calm she was about everything is probably the scariest thing. And following this, Brandy was immediately taken to hospital for her self-inflicted wound before being taken to the police station to be arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. And in her mugshot, you actually can see a plaster at the base of her neck, which I can only assume was her self-inflicted wound. And when Brandy was questioned about why she had done this, her simple answer was she didn't want her husband to take her kids away from her and that she wanted to die with her children. But Brandy, she showed no remorse, no regret, nothing, because remember, if you cast your minds back to the beginning of this case, Brandy never had regrets in life. That is how she lived her life. She never regretted anything. She never felt guilty for anything. She doesn't feel guilty about killing her children. She has no remorse. And following this, the story did break in the media, and the news of the horrific murders soon spread on the internet. And this is when some people made the connection between the Reddit post and the post from a person called Jason in Hell and the story about Jason who has lost his children after asking his wife for a divorce. And some people speculated, was it the same person? And after a lot of speculation, this is when Jason went back to Reddit under the username Jason in Hell, and he confirmed that the tragedy that was all over the news, in the media, everything was him. He also went on to say, quote, "I would like to give a heartfelt and sincere thank you for the advice and support I have received here. No one could have foreseen the tragedy that resulted from me filing for divorce. You guys perform a wonderful service to those in need, and I hope you continue to do so in the future." And then Jason deleted his Reddit account and also the original post. And in the aftermath of this case, Jason tragically had to lay both of his children to rest. And then he had to go about rebuilding his life, trying to recover from something like this, which I just don't know how you do recover from something like this. But remember at the start of the video, I said that I don't think Brandy's parents are the nicest people given what they do later on in the case. Well, now we get to that, because the way Brandy's parents reacted after all of this and the way that they have treated Jason is absolutely disgusting. So it turns out that the house that Brandy and Jason were living in was a rental, and they were renting it off of Brandy's parents. And after Brandy was arrested for murdering her own children, Brandy's parents locked Jason out of the house. They immediately changed the locks, and they wouldn't even let him in to recover his own property, to recover some of his children's possessions, some of the things that he would want to remember them by. He actually had to go through the legal process to get his property back. It's ridiculous that he had to take Brandy's parents to court just to get his own belongings back. But that's not all. That is not all. Because Brandy's parents have also made it incredibly difficult for Jason to visit the graves of his own children. Yep, you heard that right. So whenever Jason would go to the graves of his children, Brandy's parents would follow him in their truck. And whilst he was at their graveside, they would just stay in their truck and stare at him, try to intimidate him, make him feel uncomfortable. They wouldn't even let him have peace at his children's grave. So unfortunately, Jason doesn't go to his children's graves as much as he would like to. But that is not all. Brandy's parents set up a GoFundMe, and they used an image of Jason and the two children, which basically insinuates that they are trying to raise money for Jason and the two children, like to cover any kind of funeral costs or just anything like that. However, they were raising money for their own daughter, the murderer. No, scratch that. Their own daughter, the child murderer. They were raising money for Brandy's legal campaign. However, Jason's co-worker set up another GoFundMe for Jason and for funeral costs and any kind of hospital, medical bills. And in the end, Jason's fundraiser raised $50,000. And then over a year passes. Brandy and Jason officially get divorced. And then in January 2018, this is when Brandy's trial finally began. Now, initially, Brandy wanted to plead not guilty. Even though she'd actually given a full confession, she wanted to plead not guilty by reason of insanity because she was high on Benadryl, which I know Benadryl can make you drowsy. I know that Benadryl has side effects, but was she actually trying to blame Benadryl for murdering her two children? She was also diagnosed with depression, and she was suffering with depression at the time of the murders. Again, this just makes me incredibly angry. Depression doesn't equal murderer. Just don't know what they were thinking with this defense of insanity, and thankfully it failed because Brandy actually changed her plea to guilty, so there was no trial. And because there was no trial, there was no answers really as to why Brandy did this. It still to this day is pretty much a mystery. I mean, obviously we kind of know why she did it. We kind of know that it was out of spite, that she didn't want Jason to have the children. But other than that, it's just a mystery. So then when it came to her sentencing, she was given a sentence of 120 years in prison. And with cases like today, I feel like it kind of snaps you back into reality because like I said in the intro, I feel like most of us have probably come across a post on Reddit or some other site where someone is talking about their relationship and they are asking for advice. And when you read posts on Reddit, you don't always think about the people behind the posts. There are real people behind these posts. There are real people that are hurting, that are in pain. And not that anyone could have predicted what happened in this case. No one could have done that. And before this case, whenever I would come across a Reddit thread about a relationship or a post on any kind of site, I would just read it and then move on with my day. I wouldn't really think too much of it. But now, after this case, it definitely makes you stop and think that there are real people behind these Reddit posts. And now I want to remember the victims of today's case. Tyler Worley was described as a loving, friendly, and caring young boy. He was passionate about everything that he did in life. He loved sports, he loved computers, he wanted to be a software engineer just like his dad when he grew older. Jason has said that he was the most friendly boy you could ever meet, and he was taken far far, far too soon. He was only 7 years old. Charlie Worley was described as a sweet, charming and loving young girl. Her dad Jason has described her as a big ball of attitude. She loved getting dressed up, she loved her dance classes, she was incredibly cheeky and playful in her own sweet way, and her dad has said that she really started to grow into her own person. She was also taken far, far too soon. She was only 3 years old. And on the 22nd of November 2016, when Tyler and Charlie were laid to rest, they were buried with a shared gravestone which simply read, "Rest well, sweet babies, Dad loves you." And my heart truly goes out to Jason. Like seeing that gravestone, it just broke me. And in June of 2018, after the whole trial and sentencing and everything was wrapped up, Jason went back to Reddit for one final time, where he gave an update on the situation from a different account. And Jason said in that post that as time has passed, he has struggled so much. He became a recluse, he stopped socializing, he lost his job, he didn't know how to cope without his kids. He missed them so much and he considered taking his own life. He just couldn't see a way to live without them. However, thankfully, Jason has managed to pull himself through. He sought out treatment for his mental health. He went back to work. And I just want to leave you at the end of this video with something that Jason said himself in his final Reddit post, which said, quote, "If I can impart on you something that I have learned through all of this, is that you should always take the time to be with your loved ones. It doesn't matter if they are asking you to read The Pokey Little Puppy for the millionth time or asking you to play Smash Bros, even though you both know that they will wipe the floor with you every time. Just do it, because you never know what time will be the last time. Always make sure they know how much you love them. I had the fortune that the last thing my children ever heard me say was, 'I love you, good night, I will see you in the morning.'" And those are very powerful words. And I think we should all take that away from this case. And that brings us to the end of today's heartbreaking case. As always, let me know your thoughts, theories, and opinions. And don't forget to leave me your case suggestions in the comments down below, because I always want to know what you want to hear next. Thank you again to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video. And don't forget to enter the giveaway so you can possibly win the June's Journey diary. And that is everything from me. So I hope you all have a really good week ahead. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.